It's a delicate issue, and we do not want you to succumb to any traps. So we've got an interesting presenter we invited from the DSSV. It's Europe's biggest employers association for the fitness sector, and which factors are required for having an optimum start. What you have to bear in mind regarding a business plan and who is allowed to read will be talked about why Florian here. He is an expert for fitness studios and facilities. Hello. I was thrown at the deep end, so to speak. I have to deliver this presentation here. I am standing in for my dad, who's also an expert, but who, took the easy way out and, takes a look from outside, so to speak. Well, the DSSV is something that is known to most people, I believe. Fine, but I will briefly elaborate on its, history. We are not a bodybuilder. We've been out there since 1984. We accompany the studios. We are a contact person and partner regarding tax matters, educations. We are educational partners. We try to professionalize the whole sector, indeed. What we also do in, tandem with Deloitte, we release the key figures relating to the sector. We look at the overall market and market development and performance. I've got one chart here for you that embraces plenty of information that is very important. And I picked out the three important ones. It's a 5.2 billion euro net sales we generate in the sector, and this is really mind-boggling. In 2008, we were talking about 3.5 billion. It's a growth market. It's booming. Number two, which is very important, 9,000 fitness studios out there in Germany. In 2008, we were talking about 5,000 facilities, so we nearly doubled their number in a decade. Really crazy. For those who would like to open up an EMS studio and set up a new business, well, to those, this business is important. 2,250 studios are smaller than 200 square meters. Boutique studios, EMS studios, and this is what I will come back to. Then another important figure now, the 10.61 million members in fitness facilities have been reached. So the 10 million threshold was exceeded, and what we anticipate is that by 2020 we will have about 12 million members in the studios, many of them now in EMS studios. Here, the response rate, 82 million inhabitants in Germany. That's the population in Germany. On average, 1 in 10 is a member of a fitness studio. In Hamburg, we've got more. It's 18.1% response rate, 1 in 5 already. And what we cannot say is the following, and this is why we look at the next chart. 18.1 in Hamburg. Bear that in mind. Don't forget it. And in Hamburg, we've got most of these studios and the facilities. How does this come about? What is it due to? That's supply and demand. We've got the highest number of facilities there. We've got a super offer, and people want to use it. They're keen on using it. So we can also open up an EMS studio in Hamburg. Set up a business there because it's inspiring to people. They really want to have a go for it. They say, well, there is competition. I find something I like. There is something I could choose from. And in other areas, it's still worthwhile. I can guarantee this to you. And after the presentation, we can discuss this there at the back. I can give you plenty of information on that. I have 20 pages here. I won't be able to work through in 20 minutes. So let's take a look at this one. Also highly interesting. 9,000 of the facilities of the studios and 1,064 are EMS facilities set up in the past 6 years. And this is really a hype. And then the number of members, 10.61 members of the fitness sector and 0.13 only in EMS facilities. It's not a lot, but don't be mistaken. mistaken about the following. Of course, per studio, I've got fewer members and I've got less in terms of sales revenue. But be careful, the membership fee per member is a lot higher in an EMS facility than in the run-of-the-mill fitness studio. And also bear in mind, and experience corroborates this and tells me that with an EMS studio I can generate similar profits as with a standard average studio. I've got fewer costs, fewer square meters, fewer staff, less in terms of investment I have to make. I would like to elaborate on the rest, but we do not have time. And now the personalities, the startup personalities, propensity to take risks, financial buffer, dispense with holidays, above average working hours, organizational talent. This is what somebody who wants to set up a business needs. Willingness to take risks. When I'm there, a roulette, and I've got a 100 euro bill, thinking about black or red, there are enough people who will place this down, and many, they are not daring to put down their chip. And if I'm not willing to do so, I have to ask myself whether I can be such a startup person. With financial buffer, 30% equity capital minimum, then you won't have any holiday. Above average working hours and organizational talent imply one thing: I have to be stress resistant, and the very beginning is the most difficult phase you have to go through. And then the required skills and qualifications, sufficient professional and sectoral experience, commercial basics, leadership qualities, the knowledge of the sector and the market. It's not enough to learn key financials by heart. We've got plenty of know-how. We can help you. We can assist you. We've been doing so for many, many years. And when I get into this sector, I can be successful. But just a tiny little shred of market knowledge should exist. When you only go to a gym 3 times a week, you do your training, and you say they are well off, they have got many members, it is not enough. You cannot rely on the fact that it would also happen to you. No, commercial basics. You need basic commercial and business knowledge. Also, experience tells me that many people rely on others, their tax consultant, for bookkeeping and accounting and doing it properly, but a certain degree of knowledge should be there. So cost accounting, for example, knowledge should be there. I've got above average working hours. I have to take time for that, for my bookkeeping. At least I have to prepare it at best. I have to prepare it and understand it in such a way that I can work with it, that I then pay my sales tax by the 15th of the month, etc. Often this point is neglected. And leadership qualities. Well, I talked about staff management and, staff. Well, all of us know that they are important, but when I open up an EMS studio, just one example here, then people come to the studio because of me, my personality, because I've got the know-how, because I can sell myself, and not because of my staff. The staff support me in what I'm doing, and very often, and we have gained this experience, often they can cause problems. So the right leadership skills should be available. Then, we add the sectoral and the market knowledge to the first point. So what can such a startup look like? Typically, you set it up right from scratch, something new. Then you take over an existing business. When I take a business over, I always do have a problem. I have to then take over the obligations and the rights of the previous owner in the civil code. There is one section that applies to that, that's 613A. And when you take a closer look at it, this might discourage you a tiny little bit, but don't worry, there are possibilities. Then investment in companies, there are majority investments, minority shareholdings, 50-50, then share various possibilities. Then you are part of a franchise, a licensing system. Anybody of you who thought about picking up this model, taking out a franchise? Nobody? Well, Well, it has got its benefits, but also a downside. Well, on the one hand side, I've got the franchisor that organizes everything, is responsible for marketing, organizing the equipment, also makes sure, together with me, whether the site is okay. But on the other hand side, I'm not free. I'm not my own boss, and so it's also important to retain some freedom for yourself and your business. So in my opinion, this harbors more downside than upside, but I'm realistic here. So now a few words on my main topic. Why do I require a business plan for myself? This is number one. For being able to understand my whole business, not only in terms of the figures, but in terms of everything else that plays a role in terms of a business plan. I come back to that. So it's for myself and then also for the investor. Nobody, no bank would lend me money without me submitting a business plan. Nobody would be willing to, give me the money. What forms part and parcel of a business plan? Very easy. First of all, I've got an idea. I've got an idea, the idea to open up an EMS studio. The motivation is because I myself but was a member of an EMS studio. I saw it worked well and smoothly. I can make money with that. It's fun to me, and I also want to offer people added value. I would like to resolve problems encountered by people, and this is the, starting point. And what else do I need? The sectoral knowledge, commercial qualifications, specific technical qualifications. All of this has to be described to a bank and your bank manager before you will get a loan. Then the next one, the corporate type. Is it going to be an individual company? I myself am the person liable, and I am the one who may be liable with my private assets, or am I going to set up a limited partnership, for example, general partnership, and where I take maybe other types, and I need some sort of share capital, nominal capital at the beginning, and contributions that are paid in other selection qualities important to certain forms of companies. Which how many partners do I have? How do I divide it? 3 shareholders, everybody owns 33% maybe, depending on the money I personally contribute as an investment. You have to make the right choice. Important, you agree everything with the tax consultant who can calculate everything quite definitely prior to the setup. It's about minimum capital. How much do I have to use? Who is then liable? And in the meantime, it's like this. People setting up a limited liability company, they say, okay, I paid 25,000 euros. No, this no longer applies. So there is a liability, which means that they can get hold of your private assets. And this is not very nice. So what about this setup, during the first financial year or as of the 1st of January? So there are important points, and the DSSV can come in and help, and also a discussion with your own tax consultant may be beneficial. Then the next point, the location and market analysis. The site of your studio, very important. So where do I encounter market potential? In Hamburg, 18.1% of the Hamburg population are members of a fitness studios. That's 1 in 5, but there's 16.1 facility per 100,000 inhabitants. So is it still worthwhile opening up a business in Hamburg? And I said, yes, quite definitely. You have to perform a detailed analysis of the site. Are we talking about real, proper competitors? Can I compare an AMS studio with a normal gym and a sports facility? No. So I check. Within a distance of 5 kilometers, and are there 2, 3 EMS studios? How many members do they have? How is business going? And this is what I recommend to you. Look around, go do your training in the morning, at lunchtime, and in the evening, just pay them a visit, take a closer look. This is competitor analysis, and then you check, is the potential still there? Is it existent? If yes, I can talk to a potential landlord renting premises out to me. Then content, the concept, everything has to, be in harmony with each other. The sports services offered, the equipment, opening hours, additional offers being made. If something is not in line with the overall setup of your business, when, for example, opening hours mean that I start at 9 in the morning and I want to close the shop at 10, I'm offering several shifts. I have to hire staff. It will increase expenses. Does it really make sense? Because maybe my customers will only be able to come to my place starting at 5 o'clock in the evening. So this is something I have to bear in mind. Is the equipment then in line with my offerings? Is it something that incorporates my main idea, my motivation? I would like to resolve problems. Everything has to be harmonized so that later on it fits my figures. For example, EMS training can be offered in various ways. On the one hand side, I can offer it for one person, only 20 to 45 minutes, a one-on-one training. I can take 70 to 120 euros per session. I could break it down to 15 to 20 minutes. Then this particular session costs less, quite naturally. Or I offer group trainings. So the cover ratio, the contribution margin will then decrease with increasing numbers of participants. On the left-hand side, I've got the ideal situation. Do I find enough customers there? Do I see a potential in the market out there? Then it would be the left column you would go for. This is what you would quite naturally choose. Then I talked about, contents. Premises are part and parcel of that. How do I set it up? I've got a gross sales floor, so to speak, and I've got a net area I can cover, a net floor. When we talk about EMS, they're smaller than 200 square meters, partly. And how much of, what proportion of this floor should I take for which particular purposes? This is an example for a standard studio. So how much space should I allocate to different specific areas? The experience I've gained in the past 2 to 3 years has told me 2/3 of the premises are then allocated to training, and all the rest also needs to be planned in the business plan. It shouldn't be neglected, and you should think about everything, each and every point, 2 to 3 times. Then, when I want to set up such a company, I have to be fully aware of the fact that I have to make an investment for equipment, for setup costs, investment, capex, and that I also need a reserve, an investment reserve. Costs may always be incurred, and this point is often neglected. Just bear in mind that the first 3 to 5 months, maybe even the first year, is a difficult year. So if I do not have set aside enough money for my health insurance, for example, that may say I want to have 780 euros per month, just to have something for myself, because I still need to pay my insurance contracts, disability insurance, etc. And many things add up at the end of the month. When I generated 10,000 euros in sales, then I need to pay the taxman, and then do not include the sales tax. This is something you have to exclude right from the start. You have to take net figures for your calculations. Then marketing plan is also part of a business plan. I analyze the situation, I look at the current status quo, the state of play, and where I want to go, and during which period of time do I want to accomplish this, which means do I want to use, which type of marketing measures can I use in the first place. Often it's underestimated. You also underestimate the expenses incurred to organize somebody. If I do not set up a franchise store and do everything on my own, the time you have to set aside for that, the money you need for doing so has to be somewhat accurately calculated. Plenty of money is burned for that. Well, having a once a month advertisement in a little paper, local paper, doesn't help you. You have to go big. Well, Facebook or whatever. You see, there are plenty of Instagram models. You need that on your particular site and do your advertising. This plays. Then personnel planning. Personnel management is a point I mentioned. You have to plan the staff required opening hours, 9 to 8 o'clock at night. How many people do I need for doing so? What type of staff do I need in particular? Due to the fact that I, as an entrepreneur, am the most important person and I cannot duplicate myself. So it's really substantial, of importance to have the right staff assisting me who can do a good job on my behalf and who do not incur costs that are too high. Nonetheless, they should be qualified. So it's a highly complex and intricate matter. You can work this out very well within the framework of your business plan. And I know from experience that the bank people will take a very close look at whether this is a fit or not. They will scrutinize it. Then financial planning. The charts repeat some information. So what do I need? What do I need for myself? Insurance, contracts have to be paid, rent, car, phone, food, I have to eat, etc. So how do I approach this topic of financing? Do I take out 2 loans or does the bank offer me 2 loans? Do I get some, KfW loans, special loans? This needs to be discussed within the framework of a business plan. It has to be enshrined in the plan. Then also profitability and liquidity planning, cash planning. This is the most important point. This has to be a 100% fit. In the past, you could simply write something down. You said, well, roughly ballpoint. Well, I assume that after 18 months, I will achieve break even and then I will be well off and then I rake in the profit. No, this is not working like that anymore. The banks will check it thoroughly. Profitability and cash planning, very important points indeed. So you need a professional partner assisting you in this matter, maybe. The same is in terms of cost preview, sales review. This is part of the profitability and liquidity cash plan. I was only able to give you an initial insight into the topic. 25 minutes is not a lot, but DSSV offers one-day workshops and seminars. Here, we've got the dates set for this half a year. It's also something you will find on the website of the DSSV. What I recommend is if you want to set up a business, just pay us a visit, take a look. Top speakers. Well, I see that there are pictures are taken over there. Perfect, wonderful. And here our benefits, as I said before, they offer legal counseling, tax counseling. We help you in terms of marketing and advertising campaigns. By establishing partnerships, you get framework, outline contracts, and lower prices. And then this advice for startups. Should you want further information, I will be available. Everybody knows it. You will recognize me, quite definitely. Thank you.